This little 1/64 scale car apparently has no steering, no suspension, and no driver. And that's the point a track designer at Mattel recently made when they were interviewed on CBS Sunday Morning. I found this point to be very interesting because in the diecast racing hobby sport that we work within, we know there's a lot more performance that can be built into a car, right? Modified cars that are mailed in. And to that point, we can kind of agree with what he has to say to some degree, but we can also argue with it and say you can build a lot of control into this car, and what happens on a track is the result of what the builder did to it. Now, I firmly believe that. However, we know that the track plays its role in that equation. I'm Baines. This is Live Young Diecast, and we're designing the new Deep Eddy Raceway. Welcome back. All right, now it's important to note this track is a Frankenstein monster right now. It's a skeleton, but it is tuned up, tweaked, and it's running well. So thanks to the Diecast Euro Cup champions from 2022, they kindly left their cars behind for quite some time. So I would eventually get to this track build and use those cars to help tune it up. They all four won a series in that tournament, and then they all went to a grand championship in the end. So I'll show you those laps, but first I want to take a tour of this track and tell you about why I did what I did, which especially relates to some tips I got from an old friend who's been involved with the channel since the very beginning. He works at NASA, and his slang for his job title is rocket scientist. The guy knows his physics, right? So when I showed him this, it was no surprise to what he was, what he was seeing and what he might see with the laps I showed. He recognized all of it, and I kept talking about speed, and he kept saying potential energy, right? So that's the big factor here in designing a course. At least if you want certain action in a certain zone of the course, right? Which I did. And there are challenges in that I had to fight all along in tuning this course and just tweaking little angles and entrances and exits for turns and such. So I'm going to point to that stuff and do a quick little tour and see some laps from the 2022 Diecast Euro Cup champs. All right, starting at the gate, we got a nice sharp drop to build some speed with a very modest angle down into this flat turn. Anytime I'm gonna go flat on this course, we're gonna lose the speed that was built from this drop. That is unfortunate, but it's just the nature of gravity. We drop again pretty dramatically, and I'd love to say that the speed built here plus the gate drop adds up, but it doesn't, right? We're losing a little bit in the flat turn. So having such a dramatic drop means we recoup a little more speed than if this was very gradual. Now this is not flat. It does angle down. It's very subtle. We don't go flat until right here. Going into, that's open, out of the bridge and into the SpoolHeads 180 turn. This is AFCR size turn, right? So it isn't one of the big SpoolHeads turns. This is identical to the Adventure Force Crash Racers kits from Walmart, but it is made by SpoolHeads. A longer entrance and exit, smoother action. It's running really great. I'll go back to the bridge because this is iconic. It's the Pennybacker Bridge here in Austin. A friend of mine in North Carolina laser cut the wood, and I kind of finished everything out with paint and the suspension cables. So we're really excited about this little feature on the track, which is a feature because this whole thing is resting in place and it comes off. And new sets of track are connected in here and they follow this canyon. And this is where we get rally mode. That's a canyon jump for rally mode. There will be one more jump on the track down at the bottom, but this is the first. And believe it or not, it runs pretty smooth. I'll show you a lap with some cars taking this jump. Now, another dramatic drop here, recoups some speed lost in the turn, and we go into the Vista Valley, which is a Mattel Fat Track space with mergers that kind of gives us a passing zone, and the action here is pretty great. So you're seeing the updated version of all the tweaks in this course, so some smoother action in and out of these turns based on what you see in the laps to come from the Diecast Euro Cup champions. All much smoother. Our home stretch has another big drop, so you can hammer down to the finish line, which is what you want if you're driving a race car. You want to get speed to the finish line, and we see everybody scrapping for inches here instead of just kind of surviving the course. There's a nice little drift action that happens out of the tunnel, and cars will kind of rest in here through diorama. This is a bit of a iconic piece from the original track you might remember if you've been here before, as well as the bleacher set up over the tunnel or the cave. Into our finish. All right, let's see a lap with this premium RS200. It's got a wheel swap, metal on metal, no weight, just lube and a wheel swap. See a solo run with the updates to this track to kind of compare them to the Euro Cup champions that will run 4 laps. So just a quick example that this car runs real straight, and the weight distribution just naturally from this casting is probably playing a role in these turns, but he never touches the sidewalls on the home stretch. So that runs pretty smooth. This guy had a straight line through the home stretch, which is really great. I do want to run some cars through the canyon jump for rally mode and let you take a look at how that works, and as well as they'll hit a finish line jump right about here, which is pretty modest, but it's a nice little second feature jump to the rally mode version of the Deep Eddy Raceway. Okay, I'll run this in slow-mo, and yes, I've got shadows, garage doors open. All the track lighting is not installed yet at the point when I film this. You see everybody takes that canyon jump nice and smooth, and here's this Escort RS coming through what would be the finish jump, and nice and smooth. All right, let's just jump right into these laps with the Diecast Euro Cup champs. From Blue Ribbon Diecast, it's Grey Wizard. He's the Ferrari Series winner. Arlo won the Mixed Series, McLaren and Lotus in that F1. And Mr. Dark in that long Estoque from Dubious Diecast. That's going to be a good example of a long-weighted casting. These are all roughly 50 to 70 grams. And Flip in that Porsche 911, he won the Porsche Series, and he's the grand champion of the Diecast Euro Cup from 2022. In the gate, we'll see our lighting trees just kind of propped up on the side there, and we don't have much track lighting in at this point when I filmed. That SpoolHeads 90 is a big problem solver. I like it a lot. Thanks, Russell. Cars staying together throughout the laps here because these guys are all champs. That's going to happen a little more often with a group like this. Tight at the line, and here on the replay we'll see that we've got a little drifting out of that turn, which does happen, and we've got a pass from Flip on Arlo, and the group tight in that last turn, and then Arlo making a run on Flip here at the line. Really, really exciting. That's what I was going for. All right, Grey Wizard with the win on lap 1, and we'll rotate into lap 2. That is Flip in pole position. Lights are green, and they're off with a bit of energy. We're going to lose it right there. Going to get it back right here. And we see some good speed kind of building up. Recoup from that turn. The block out isn't going to help Dark's pass right there. It would have been a little more of a runaway, I think. And even still, Flip kind of challenges at the line. So yeah, Dark's really pushing. And I think that's one thing I want to note on this track is that it runs pretty fast, even though it might not look like it. There's a lot of space to kind of push your competition out of the way here. And everybody really close on this finish for lap 2. We've got Flip in the lead. Well, actually tied with Grey Wizard. Mr. Dark right behind.
So it's pretty tight as it was in the original. Mr. Dark is now in pole position for the 3rd lap. And into the 90, down through the Pennybacker Bridge, and the group is tight. No drifts out of that turn. And Grey Wizard will spin out in the back, and Arlo makes a run on Flip at the line. Love the energy, or potential energy, you can get from these quick little drops, which is what I mean by dramatic drops when I was talking earlier. That just means quick. I should have noted that. The quick drops mean quick speed builds and kind of getting some good action into the next zone. We got 9s for 1st and 2nd from Flip and Mr. Dark into the 4th lap. Arlo is in pole position. We'll glitch that start there. And Arlo holding his lead, and a little drift out. Mr. Dark pushes, and then Grey Wizard threads the needle right there. Gets a pass, but then Flip takes it back. Arlo has the biggest kind of runaway win of this group. So there's the drift, and check out Grey Wizard threading the needle in the Vista Valley. That is what it's for. And then Flip here taking the low inside, takes his position back from Grey Wizard. Mr. Dark will give him a push, and that kind of ties or holds them up there coming in. But they're tight as a trio, and that's the end there. 3 or 4 in a row 2nd place finishes from Flip. And 3rd and 4th. There is no 3rd and 4th. We got a tie.
All right, I really love these results. I know it's just 4 laps versus 8 laps, which would have been the typical final, and it was in the original tournament. But I don't want to rewrite history and do another set to get what could be a very different score, overall. But after 4, I kind of see the same finishing order in the original tournament. And I really like that that's what this set of cars was able to do, is kind of pull down the same finishing order. With exception, there is no 4th place. Arlo and Grey Wizard actually tie, and there's just 3 finishers, just three positions. Flip, though, never wins a lap. That is consistency, right? He collects enough points to win the group, but never actually gets first in a lap, which he did in the original tournament. But consistency is what we want in open track racing because of the control and lady luck and all those elements of the cars fighting for position and sort of beating each other up in this open space. So consistency is where it's at, and that's what we see. So love the results. Hope the guys are happy with that. It's telling, I think. And this track is it's not like any open track. I think they aren't necessarily designed to reveal the faster car. You want to go to drag racing to essentially take these 4 cars, drag race them, and you're going to find the faster car. You need speed in an open track race. You're going to see the faster car win on occasion, but consistency is what you need in open track racing. So another point I want to make to potential energy, which I mentioned early on in the video, is these hills have potential energy, and then you lose it in the flat sections, right? So in a drag race, that potential energy is released at the finish line. If you move the finish line further away, you keep going, eventually the cars slow down, and eventually they'll stop. So you move the finish line far enough away, they never actually get there. So what's that point where they are moving as fast as they possibly can, given an endless, run out, right? So that's where the finish line should be. That reveals the faster car. On an open track, it's hard to do that, and I'm not saying I did it here, but I did try to build speed again throughout the course, and then sort of provide that potential energy feature into the home stretch, right? You get a little boost in there, and you see some acceleration to the finish line. So we get some interesting racing, I think. I know I like it, and I hope you do as well. Anyway, that's it. Vans Gone Wild. Those vans are ready. They're here, and I've been waiting a long time. Thanks for your patience. They will kick off racing here in the spring when I get into or I get done with the diorama phase on this track. which is already in the works. And that's going to be a good time. I hope you subscribe and tune in for that. Otherwise, thanks to everyone in the community for all the help and support. You know who you are. I appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for watching, y'all. Live young. Diecast. See you soon.